Hi and welcome to Thriver TV, the place to break free from narcissistic abuse with quantum tools and understandings. So today's Thriver TV episode, I get asked about this all the time, about co-parenting with a narcissist. And I really want to do quite a few episodes on this topic on Thriver TV and break it down even further than I do today, because I am totally passionate about healing our children and our future generations and putting a stop to this insidious human cycle of abuse and abused, which has been such a terrible part of our world. All because of the horrific emotional unconsciousness and total disregard for education about the patterns and programs that we all take on as children that cause immense damage in future relationships with self, life, and others. And the focus of this episode is a foundational one that is vital to help our children. And I'll even go as far as to say we are completely powerless to help them if we don't do this. So what I'm about to share in this episode applies to all of us who want to help our children survive co-parenting, the aftermath of narcissistic abuse, even if that person is no longer in their life or whether they are, or simply to help our children evolve and heal from the patterns that we've all been subject to. The unconscious parenting, the control and engulfment or conditional love or shaming or blaming or whatever it was that damaged our inner identities, didn't allow us to be self-partnered and whole within, and brought us into this community of narcissistic abuse in the first place. More than any other message I've ever shared in regard to narcissistic abuse recovery, I believe this one that I'm about to explain is the number one most important. This is it. Stop trying to fix and change other people in order to feel okay and whole. And this includes our children. Now, before you start accusing me of being an uncaring parent or putting adults before children, which would be totally understandable, please hear me out. I'm not saying this because I'm disregarding the well-being of our children. I'm saying this because I care about nothing more. And I know that there is no possible way to do that when we are still damaged ourselves. I see it all the time. Wounded parents lecturing and prescribing to their children. I see parents who've not learnt to love and be kind to themselves state emotional topics as hard, logical facts, totally invalidating their children's feelings. I see parents in anger, distress and resentment of their exes trying to get their children to be okay with circumstances and wondering why they aren't. I see parents intensely victimized, then trying to get their children off to counseling so that they feel more empowered and in control, yet are not leading the way in any shape or form themselves. And I know all of this intimately because I did it myself. And the more I tried to change Zach's, my son's experience, from my own broken, traumatized, unhealed and wounded emotional center, the more I simply added to his trauma and brokenness, and the sicker we both got. And I did this continually, parenting him while I was in painful love relationships or with my own wounds in between them. Before I share the circumstances of my true awakening of what I'm going to share with you in this episode, I want you to think about this. The aeroplane analogy. How we're all told to put our oxygen mask on first before trying to assist another with theirs. And I can't tell you how integral to healing this is. And the very basis of the truth of this is absolute quantum law. That anyone who is broken on the inside, who is trying to make someone or something else change rather than attend directly to their inner brokenness first, will only and can only create more brokenness with anything or anyone that they're trying to affect, including their children. Quantum law is so within, so without. If you have not shifted into health, you can't affect your children healthily, point blank. And as a parent, you may be feeling really triggered listening to this because, of course, this is totally counterintuitive. And we know we would all step in front of a bus for our children. We would sacrifice ourselves and do anything to keep them happy, healthy, and safe. We would lay down our own lives for that. And please know, I would be all for self-sacrificing ourselves if it worked. I really would. But I know it doesn't. And I care more about our children and our future generations than anything you could imagine. And that is why I am saying heal yourself first, because that works when nothing else does. And I really want to lead the way here with communicating my own personal experience with all of this. And this experience that I'm about to share profoundly taught me the truth about healing the people that we love. So let me share with you my journey with my son, Zach. Zach and I went through terrible narcissistic abuse with the narcissist I was married to, who wasn't Zach's father. So during this time, Zach's life was full of uncertainty, seeing his mother so shattered. He was on the run with me at times. We were both climbing out windows at times to get away. We were living in different places. He was losing his home. There was times when he was not able to access his schoolwork because his computer was left behind. And there were all sorts of uncertainties for the future, and ultimately not knowing if I was going to live or die at times. Things were so bad. When I was in recovery and free from the narcissist and starting to come out of my breakdown, Zach finally, after years of significant trauma, could break. And at 19 years of age, break he did. He became a hardcore alcoholic and drug addict. He wasn't working and he was barely functioning in any area of his life. He was destroying himself. And at first I tried to intervene. I lectured, I prescribed, I tried to get him help. I threatened all sorts of boundaries which he continually smashed through. And the more we battled, the sicker I started to feel, and the more he pushed back and the sicker he was getting. Eventually things escalated to a level where I evicted him from home. Living with him had become abusive, and I knew I could no longer subject myself to what was happening. I'd lived with a husband that was incredibly abusive. And the day I kicked Zach out of the home, where he was almost evicted by police if he hadn't willingly left, he looked me in the eyes and he said, "The next time we lay eyes on each other, it will be on one of our deathbeds." And I knew he meant it. He was so lost in his drug haze and trauma, and he threatened me with overdosing before this. And as he left, I knew it was a distinct possibility. I was heartbroken, worried, and fearful for his life beyond belief. And I felt totally powerless and useless as a parent, and incredibly guilty with what I'd put him through. Then I realized the truth which had been staring me in the face all along. I had to lead the way. I'd been seeing Zach as broken and hopeless and totally wasting his life. I'd been so upset about his state, what I've put him through, the guilt of that. I'd taken it on and made it my business to change him in order to feel better. I'd worked quantumly with myself in the past to heal from the abusive marriage, and now I knew exactly what I had to do regarding my own son. I had to heal myself to a level regarding Zach where I no longer saw him as broken and powerless and hopeless. I had to be the internal, vibrational, emotional model of what he needed to be, because by doing that, I knew as his mother that where my energy went was where his could follow. And I also knew that if I was really going to save his life, that at the human personality level, I was powerless to fix him. Yet at the superconscious higher self level, if I could hand it over there, that true miracle was possible. So I got to work. I released every trauma I felt about him, every negative belief. I worked so hard with quantum freedom healing to set up the goal of him awakening to his inner power, guidance and truth, and I released all other possibilities from my inner being. And I also surrendered myself deeply into the knowing that he was on his journey, his own soul evolution, and no matter how it looked, it was divine. His soul knew what it was up to. And I let go of needing outcomes. I let go of me needing him to be drug and alcohol free in order for me to be whole. Because I knew that the true power in manifestation is to fully get ourselves out of the way and let the almighty quantum mechanics of life take over. And we can't need anything for that to happen. We have to emulate creation, and creation has no need. Creation just is. We can only harness that when we do get ourselves fully out of the way. And of course, in regard to our children, our most precious babies, our blessed offspring, there is no harder task than this, to let go and let God, or whatever you want to call a higher power, creation, life force, whatever it is to you. But that is what I did, because I knew things were so dire. My child was so sick and so hell-bent on destroying himself that nothing less than this would cut it. So this is what happened within me. I worked solidly on myself night and day to clear every limiting belief I had about Zach, or any need for him to be anything at all. And I saw and felt profoundly that his inner being had it all in hand. And only days after I reached this level of feeling everything is in perfect and divine order, and I was trauma-free when I thought of Zach, and I just felt this warm inner knowing regarding his soul awakening, Zach texted me. He wanted to meet for lunch. And when we did, I saw Zach standing in front of me. Sorry, it's so big. He was standing in front of me, drug and alcohol free, and we both cried. And he told me he'd woken up, and he thanked me for kicking him out and for taking the stand that I had. Zach's inner being had broken through. That was 8 years ago. And Zach has never looked back. So, you know, and it still gets to me whenever I go to that story, because these are tears of joy. And this is what I want every parent to know from the depths of my being, is that you've got to do the work inside your own body. We cannot stay broken and angry and devastated and traumatized and fearful for our children. We've got to shift ourselves, and then they will follow. And I know with every cell of my being that if I had not done the work inside my own body to become the change that I wanted to see for my boy, he would never have turned the corner. He would have kept being exactly what I thought he was, which was that broken, drug-affected, addicted boy. And I truly don't know if he would have made it. In fact, I don't think he would have made it. So since this time, with the countless people in this community who naturally are devastated, terrorized and panicked by what the narcissist is doing with their children and what their children are going through, the reality is the law, the legal system is not set up to protect and assist you. I wish it was, but it's not. And it's not likely that you're going to have any ability to stop the narcissist seeing your children, no matter how hard you try. You may even run the risk of losing the children yourself if you try to enforce this happening. And in no way am I saying don't take action. Yes, do if possible and needed. And do this, absolutely, but please, please, please work on yourself in conjunction and first. Become the empowered, powerful creator of the experience that you want to see for your children. Because your fear, your resentment, and your panic is only going to generate more of what you are fearing and hurting over for them. The more you try to stop what is happening, the more it will happen. It's quantum law, so within, so without. And it's so important to understand this. Your children are on a journey, a powerful soul journey of healing and evolution. There are no mistakes here with the family that their soul has chosen to be born into and the circumstances. So instead of seeing it as a dreadful mistake, you have the opportunity to lead the way with them regarding becoming the wisest, solid, the most solid, whole, self-loving individual possible. And just as Zach, who is now wise, empowered and incredible beyond his years, not despite what he's lived through, but because of what he's lived through, your children can be the same. And I promise you, there are many people in the Thriver community co-parenting successfully, meaning narcissists are not affecting them or their children in impactful ways. And the children are gravitating more towards wholeness and inner development, and no longer trying to hold a narcissist responsible for what they haven't been capable of generating themselves. And this is what we do. We ourselves stop holding the narcissist responsible and become love, approval, security, and survival. And our children will follow. Because one developing parent working on being the level of wholeness they want for their children is more than enough, I promise. And in fact, the other disordered parent is the grist that generates growth and development, just as the souls of these children intended in their soul plan in the first place. But this can't happen if two parents are damaged and not recovering. We have to be that parent who is recovering. We can't help our children get well if we stay sick. So my biggest number one message regarding our children is this: heal yourself. Free yourself of powerlessness, victimization, resentment, neediness, judgment, and every other trauma that is hurting you regarding the narcissist or the fear of what they will do to you and your children. Get benign. When you clear all of your traumas, you will no longer be triggered. You will become unperturbed and no longer reliant on the narcissist doing the right thing in your life. You'll be able to detach, create boundaries, and then you can generate a wonderful life for your children and yourself, regardless of whether or not they need to spend time with the other parent that's disordered. And not only will your connection become greater with your children, you will also notice that the narcissist stops using them as pawns to get to you. He or she will have to work at terrorizing more damaged targets in order to get narcissistic supply. So anyway, that's it, and there will be more to come on the hows and whys of this regarding our children, but I wanted to implement this very important foundation first, which you can see I'm just so passionate about, because without it, nothing will work. And in all of the years that I've been working with people in narcissistic abuse recovery, I have never seen a parent that is still traumatized, that is in the terror and horror regarding their children. I've never seen them lead the way. That's what we've got to shift, all of that stuff. So come over to the blog at blog.melanietoniaevans.com and we'll keep this conversation going. And please ask any questions about any of this. And, I really want parents to connect there so we can start getting this. And remember, beautiful people, keep smiling, healing, and thriving, because there's nothing else to do. Lots of love. Bye-bye.